This is a real story of a killer who performed plastic surgery on himself. A Japanese man wanted for murder of a British woman says he scissored off his lower lip, dug two moles out of his cheek with a box cutter, and gave himself a nose job in an attempt to obscure his identity. Lindsay Hawker, 22 years old, was found dead in a sand filled bathtub on the balcony of Ichihashi's apartment in Japan in March 2007. Ichihashi, arrested in 2009 after a lengthy nationwide manhunt, admits to taking Hawker's life in the book until the arrest, but he doesn't describe the crime or his motives, instead, detailing his life at large, during which he traveled up and down the country in constant fear of arrest and obsessed with cosmetic surgery. Lindsay Hawker, the victim, was born to Bill and Julia Hawker in Coventry, West Midlands, at the middle child of three daughters. Her sisters are Lisa and Luz. She moved to Japan in October 2006 to teach English at Nova in Tokyo, which was Japan's largest private English conversation school. She opted to teach English for a year in Japan. She shared her accommodation with two other female teachers, one from Australia and the other from Canada. Tatsuya Ichihashi, accused aged 28 at the death of Hawker, lived in the city of Ichikawa in Gifu on 5th January 1979. Ichihashi grew up in Shiba and Gifu as his father relocated his family due to a job assigned as a medical doctor along with his dentist wife. After graduating from Department of Horticulture, Shiba University in 2005, Ichihashi did not work but lived on an allowance of roughly €600 a month from his parents. On 20th March 2007, Lindsay Hawker recited the story of how she met Ichihashi to her boyfriend, who lived in England, by email. 4 days before the kidnap happened or killing happened, she was approached by him on her train journey home from work. Ichihashi at first claimed she was his English teacher and then asked her to confirm if she was an English teacher. Ichihashi ran after her as she cycled home and asked for a glass of water. When she arrived, Hawker had felt sorry for him and decided as a precaution to show him her two flatmates. Once inside, Ichihashi took out a pen and paper and drew a picture of her, signing it with his name, telephone number, and an email address. At some point, the pair agreed to meet for an English lesson 4 days later at a cafe, which was something the Nova school allowed. Hawker and Ichihashi met on Saturday 24th March 2007 in the cafe. When the session had been conducted, Ichihashi told that he had missed his purse at his apartment and convinced her to accompany him to his home. They caught a taxi to Ichihashi's apartment, which was a few hundred yards down the road. Hawker told the taxi driver to wait for a short time and went up to Ichihashi's apartment. 7 minutes later, the taxi driver left after she failed to arrive. Hawker's naked body was found buried in a sand soil filled bathtub on the apartment balcony. She had been bound and gagged with plastic ties and scarves, with one of her hands lying outside the mixture. Both Hawker and Ichihashi were familiar with martial arts. Ichihashi was much more experienced, having attacked a black belt, and it appeared from a bruise that were present across Hawker's upper body that she had been subject to a prolonged attack. Her possessions were found spread across the room as well. Police said the egg-sized bruise on the left side of her face appeared to be inflicted with a fist, while lesser marks on her upper body were the result of collision with the furniture. Hawker had died when her assailant began strangling her, broke and the cartilage of her neck. Her head was shaved after she was killed. It had been widely reported in the days after her death that Ichihashi had buried her only in a sand. Ichihashi had buried the body in sand and compost soil and then sprayed it with a substance for decomposing. It is believed that this had been done with a plan in mind to either bury the body in concrete and to wait until it had decomposed. Ichihashi had brought the material over 6 visits to his local hardware store. These visits have been made in the hours leading up the arrival of the police force on 26th March. After failing to attend her class on 25th and 26th March, Nova reported Hawker missing at 2:30 p.m. on 26th. Hawker's friend had tried to contact the police previously, but the message was not passed along adequately. Two officers had dispatched and reached Ichihashi's apartment at 5:40 p.m. After being made aware of the previous allegation made against Ichihashi and noticing that there was no light on the apartment but that there appeared to be somebody was inside the house, and then hurriedly these officers called up for a backup at 7 p.m. They were not permitted to knock without proper cause. Within the next hour, 7 more officers arrived. 2 hours after the 9 officers had assembled outside, Ichihashi's walked out of his front door with a rucksack bare feet. This would be unusual since though shoes are traditionally left in the Japanese foyer and not worn inside, they are almost always worn out of the doors. Ichihashi was made aware of the situation and attempted to run away from the officers. One was able to grab his rucksack, but he continued to flee. Ichihashi's escape was aided in part by the fact that none of the officers had walkie-talkie, and so the officers on the 4th floor could not alert those on the ground. Ichihashi lost the officer after vaulting the last few feet of the stairways to the ground, but was later rediscovered having found a pair of athletic shoes before escaping again by zigzagging through the street. The content of his rucksack did not suggest that he was trying to escape. All it contained was his gym clothes, and police believed that he was going there to wash them. Police suspect that between Sunday night and early Monday, Ichihashi moved the bathtub from the bathroom to the balcony and put Hawker's body into it. Neighbors said they heard sounds of something striking metal and something being dragged during that time. Police obtained an arrest warrant Tuesday for Ichihashi on suspicion of abandoning her body and put him on the nationwide wanted list. On 29th March, detectives removed a shopping trolley from Ichihashi's apartment building in which he is believed to have transported the bags of horticultural soil where Hawker was buried. On 29th March, a team of 20 Japanese police officers raided a love hotel near Tokyo where rooms were rented to couples by the hour, but did not find Ichihashi. On 13th March 2008, Japanese police released a new wanted poster of Ichihashi, which included an enhanced image of the suspect disguised as a woman. They also released images of a drawing he made of Hawker in the hope that someone would recognize the drawing style. In the early month of 2008, the police investigated sightings of Ichihashi among the gay section in Tokyo where he had tentatively been identified by his male sexual partners. However, in the later part of his year, the investigation appeared to have gone cold. in October 2008, by which time 140 officers had been involved in what was a relatively large investigation. It was suggested by police that Ichihashi may have committed suicide. Hawker's father called this as a ploy to scale down the operation. Reports continued to abound speculating Ichihashi's location, and on 15th January 2009, in an article in Japan Today, it was reported that Ichihashi, who had turned 30 on 5th January 2009, had fled and gone underground in the Philippines, according to a report from SPA, the weekly magazine. For years, Japanese criminals wanted by Japanese authorities have fled to the Philippines to escape arrest, making the Philippines something of a heaven for Japanese criminals. On the second anniversary of her death, life-size cutouts of Ichihashi were released by the police to raise the profile of the case. At this point, the Hawker were for the first time critical of the progress the investigation was making. On 26 June 2009, the Japanese National Police Agency raised the cash reward for information leading to the arrest of Tatsuya Ichihashi from 1 million yen to 10 million yen. Police officers offer cash rewards of 1 million yen to 3 million yen for information leading to arrest in serious cases. The manner in which this reward would be distributed was questioned when Ichihashi was arrested later that year, as a number of informants had contributed to this capture. These included a cosmetic surgery clinic in Nagawa, an employee of an Osaka construction company where Ichihashi had been employed for 14 months, and an Osaka ferry company employee who reported the sighting of someone who bore resemblance to Ichihashi. On 4th November 2009, police disclosed that Ichihashi had undergone plastic surgery on 24 October at the clinic in Nagawa, where he had nose uplifted after he had failed to receive surgery in Fukuoka in mid-October. He had apparently received cosmetic surgery on several occasions to remove 2 moles on his cheek, add a fold on his eyelid, thin both his lips, and increase the height of his nose before he visited the Nagawa clinic. Police released a photograph taken immediately before his latest surgery to the press. Arrest on 10th November 2009, Ichihashi was captured in Osaka while attempting to board a ferry in Okinawa. Ichihashi did not confess upon being arrested, and then when his 23-day detention period without charge expired on December 2, he was initially charged with abandoning a body and served 2 more warrants for rape and murder. He has been alleged by Ichihashi's lawyer that during this period he was threatened with the death penalty if he did not speak, and his reticence was attributed to fatigue and stress. On 23rd December, one of his lawyers announced that he had acknowledged that he was involved in her death, but that he did not intend to kill her and had attempted artificial act to gain consciousness. In the court, Ichihashi admitted to suffocating Hawker to prevent her from screaming for help while he raped her. On 21st July 2011, Tatsuya Ichihashi was sentenced to life imprisonment for the murder of Lindsay Hawker by the Shiba District Court. The Hawker family had asked for the death penalty for Ichihashi, but the court felt that the death penalty was not appropriate as Ichihashi had no previous conviction, and at the age of 32 there was still a chance that he could be rehabilitated.